What's up? I'm Ace. So it sucks that I have to make this video, but it's probably going to be, if not the most helpful video that I probably have ever made for some people, right? And the reason I'm making this video is because I had an issue at a meeting, right? Someone didn't like my personal experience, strength, and hope, okay? And that's okay, right? But it wasn't okay for that person. So something that should be logical and go without saying, that if you choose to go to a meeting of recovery, it doesn't matter if it is in a building that is an all-inclusive building. It doesn't matter if it's in a church. It doesn't matter if it's in a hole-in-the-wall bar, all right? When you choose to attend a meeting of recovery, you are also choosing to possibly hear something that you don't like, that goes against what you think is good or what you think is bad or your view of reality, okay? So the underlying foundational premise, okay, is the only thing that you can control is yourself, okay? You can only control yourself. Anything outside of yourself, you cannot control, okay? People, thoughts, others' actions, okay? So the only thing that you can control is you, plain and simple, okay? When choosing to allow another person into your life, regardless of where you're at, because you can't control that other person, well, something uncontrolled is chaotic, okay? So, in choosing to allow a person into your life in any form or degree, you are also choosing a form of chaos as well, okay? Something you can't control. Now, with this truth, this universal truth in mind, okay? It doesn't matter where you're at, what building you're at, what rules the building has. A meeting of recovery is to help people, right? So when I choose to go to a meeting, I'm also choosing to possibly not to possibly hear something that I don't like. Now, why don't I like it, right? Well, it may go against my beliefs. It may go against what I feel is right or wrong, right? So, it's not the person's words that are upsetting me. It's how I feel about those words that upset me, right? So I'm choosing to allow those words that this person says to affect me in my state of mind, in my state of being, okay? So when a person can control their emotions to the degree of someone saying something that I don't like, doing something that I don't like, or thinking something that I don't like, well, I have to stop and say, even if I don't like this person, what this person is saying isn't physically hurting me. I'm allowing these words to run space in my mind. I'm effectively becoming this person's prisoner based on their beliefs because I am acting on a feeling that I am giving myself based on what they say. So, if I allow anybody else's words, actions, or thoughts to affect my state of being, I become their prisoner. Personally, I don't like going to jail. I don't like being in prison. So I'm not going to allow what somebody else says, thinks, or does to affect my state of being. Okay? That is not perfection. It's moving towards mastery. And that's important. Okay? Because if I act in emotion, nothing would get done. If I acted on how I felt about a certain situation, and this situation for the progression of my life needed to happen, I would have to remove the emotion, handle the situation or task at hand to get to the next portion of life or lesson, right? And if I cannot do this, I am going to stay in the exact same spot in life because I can't set aside my emotions and let my emotions not be my actions, and thus stopping me from this moving ahead in life and in thought process generally, okay? So, just because someone says something that you don't like doesn't mean that they don't have the right to say this, okay? Freedom of speech in society and the world that we live in says everyone has the freedom to say or think as they do. That's why you can't get arrested if you say, fuck you, cop, right to his fucking face. Cool. Thank you. It's a good thing, right? Because if I was allowed to be arrested based on me pissing a cop off by my words, we'd have a big problem on our hands. A whole destructuralization of society. But society stays intact because of certain ideas, one of which is the freedom of speech. So just because I'm in an all-inclusive space, or let's say in a church or something like that, if I say something that goes against this all-inclusive space, well, guess what? It's not all-inclusive then. So basically, inclusive is saying everyone's welcome. Unless you say something that we don't like, then you're not welcome. So, by definition, it's not all-inclusive. Logic, reasoning, right? Hopefully this helps, okay? But if I allow someone else's words, actions, or thoughts, which I would technically be having to use my imagination because I don't think many people can read minds, right? So just their thinking, if I allow it to affect me, I'm being imprisoned by this other person's imagination. That is very restricting. So in order for the true goal, freedom is the goal. Mental freedom, emotional freedom, spiritual freedom, physical freedom. Fortify yourself. Make yourself stronger, okay? Because it is not my responsibility to sugarcoat what I say and guess where you're at on your spiritual or emotional journey, right? That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to make sure that I'm strong enough, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, to not allow someone else's words, actions, or thoughts to affect me, right? Just like it's your responsibility to make sure that your mental, physical, and emotional and spiritual fortitude is on par so that you won't be able to be upset by what I say. And if what I say upsets you, guess what? Get fucking stronger. I'm Ace. Wake the fuck up.